Welcome to Our Drummers Musicians. I'm your host Luke, and today we're stepping into a whole new world, DJing and turntablism, with the incredible DJ Mizhap. Mizhap has been a DJ for over a decade, building her skills and reputation in Perth before recently making the move to Melbourne. She's a dedicated artist who's constantly pushing herself to learn and evolve, drawing inspiration from legendary turntablists whilst bringing her own unique style to the decks. In this episode, we talk about how she got started, what it takes to establish herself as a DJ, and the differences between club DJing and more performance-driven turntablism. While I've been around DJs before, turntablism is a whole different skill set, and Mizhap breaks it down, explaining the techniques and approach behind this fascinating art form. This one's a deep dive into a scene with a massive global following, so I hope you enjoy. Thanks so much for being happy to do this.
No worries, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I should I guess preface this by saying I am not really in the hip hop scene, but I was really excited to find out what a turntablist is. And when I had Grace Cheer on the podcast, Grace is like an old friend, and I saw that you were working on their gig for the showcase at the old bar.
Yeah.
And I was just super intrigued, and because this podcast has basically been me just chatting to a bunch of musician friends. I've been trying to expand it out a little bit more, so it doesn't just become my connections from when I was at uni or different bands I've played in or something.
Yeah, 100%. Just expand the horizon of understanding and
yeah,
yeah.
Because there's so many musicians in Melbourne, and I feel on one level the community is quite small, but on another level, it's kind of also a little bit siloed off. People in one scene generally don't play in another scene. And, there's not so much, cross-pollination of, I don't know, people playing lots of different styles. It's kind of everyone's sort of, got their specialty, and there's, lots of communities, but it's not necessarily, fully connected.
Yeah, 100%. I feel moving here, I've definitely found that, as opposed to, I spent my whole life in Perth DJing, and then moving here 8 months ago, I was I feel I had more of a grounds to solidify myself as a hip-hop DJ or as a turntablist within, hip-hop events and, working with, hip-hop artists and MCs and singers and all of that. But, yeah, it's always been, I don't know, for me as well, I love playing other styles, so I don't know, it gets a little bit tricky because I do want to be known for hip-hop and that is what I really want to build, my musical identity under. But I feel I love funk and I love soul and, there's so many other styles that incorporate within hip-hop and that hip-hop came from and that came from hip-hop that it's hard to, for me, just to sometimes choose, I'm always just going to be playing hip-hop because that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
So I feel sometimes people are surprised when they see me playing other stuff, but for me, I've been doing that most of my life.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and sometimes as well, I've had some scenarios where, I don't know, recently I got let go from a venue for being a hip-hop cypher DJ, and I just found that, I was okay, because they didn't see me as a club DJ anymore. And to be honest, I'm not even really offended because I am a club DJ, I've been doing that for 10 years, but I do want to go more down, the live route and tour with it and, develop my own sound from it, which I'm trying to do now. So yeah, I think sometimes you just get to crossroads and that's, and I guess why I'm going into this little ramble is just because, there's so many different pockets of creation and identity and sound. And so many of them do cross over and can, but I guess the general public sometimes can be confused by what is this?
So what was the scene like in Perth?
I feel like for example, there's a very strong drum and bass scene in Perth. There's a pretty strong live scene there, live musician scene. In terms of clubbing scene, I guess it's pretty strong, but the majority of it is, I guess, open format. It's pretty open format, I spent 10 years basically, saying I was an open format DJ and just playing all styles of genres at all different kinds of spaces. So yeah, it's pretty. I think it's pretty diverse back home.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I guess for anyone that doesn't know, like when you use the phrase to describe it being all format, does that just mean that you're not specializing in one sound, but that different venues or different nights putting on a specific sound, you can do all of it?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, there's some DJs that I guess would say that are open format, and mostly that might just specifically mean party styles, house music, R&B and hip hop, like the general formula. But then there's obviously deeper genres. Like it depends how deep you go within your musical discovery. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but open format's pretty much anything that the venue or the crowd is like asking for.
So why did you want to come to Melbourne?
I'd come here a few times like over the years to like do gigs and stuff. Last year I'd come over about 4 times. I'd done some trips just to do some groundwork and see if I really like it. And yeah, just wanted to get out of my comfort zone, man. And I saw the culture here, like the community of music, and I don't know, it was just different for me and a bit more eye-opening. So
sure.
Yeah.
Did you have many connections like that first brought you over to Melbourne, or was it just like part of a tour that you were doing? Like we go to the major cities, so
yeah,
checking out Melbourne on the way.
No, it was really I'd met a guy called LJ at like the DJ Trauma. DJ Trauma is Dave Chappelle's tour DJ. So they were doing a show in Perth at the end of 2022. Yeah. And I'd met LJ then and their crew, and they'd just been like, whoa, like, what are you doing in Perth, And I was like, oh, make money here and it's easy and, just do what I like. And they were kind of, just planted the seed in my head that, because I had always wanted to go further outside with it and definitely travel the world with music, but I was just kind of pretty comfortable and, paying my bills easily and all of that. So I was just, yeah, whatever, the time will come when it comes. And I think the seed was planted, and I'd gone over and done a trip to Melbourne. LJ had introduced me to MJ, who runs 100% Fat Crew here.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a whole bunch of great DJs and artists that they all have their different styles and specialties, and yeah, they're all great people, so it's really good to work with those guys. And yeah, MJ had given me a couple shows or like sets to do. Each time I came over every few months and did a couple of weeks here and there. And yeah, just really, I don't know, I was just trying to figure out, because I guess I was sitting in Perth going like, I don't know, what if Melbourne thinks I'm whack? Which, maybe they do, whatever. But like at the end of the day, I am going to be who I am as a DJ, and I just have to try, figure out where that sits. And I did have some kind of, definitely push-pull feelings, like when I got here, thinking that when I moved to Melbourne, I would feel more understood as a DJ, or, as like a turntablist, and people would be more open to, like hearing, I guess, different styles of mixing. But yeah, in some venues or some, atmospheres or whatever, that's just not really the case. Like there's a commercial world, and then there's, the world where you can really be experimental, and then there's like the live show world. So yeah, met MJ, and he like books me for a lot of the venues and clubs that I work with, and yeah, like we do the Section 8 gigs for Forth and Back, so that one's really fun. So yeah, those are like my main connections, and then I'd also met the Breaking Bread crew as well, so they're pretty much family as well. And
yeah, cool.
Yeah, some like, for being here only 8 months, I'm feeling pretty supported, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, man.
So I guess if we go back to like the very start of like music for you, did you grow up in like a house that was like listening to music all the time, or what sort of what's your earliest memory of music being in your life?
Yeah, I feel like my family loves music, or they do enjoy music, but it wasn't, I didn't grow up in a musical household, or tried to learn guitar at one point and ended up quitting that because, I don't know, my teacher had long creepy fingernails on one hand and short ones on the other.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, classical guitar, and I just wanted to play electric guitar, So just like trying to jump the gun always, I didn't want to learn like hot cross bun on the piano, so I just was trying to learn by ear how to play chords.
Yeah, right.
So I guess a lot of the stuff that I learned was really just trying to dive into things in my own time and getting bored and being like, I want to learn this. But yeah, I strummed on like the guitar for a while, and then ended up giving that up. And I remember my parents listened to like Jeff Buckley and Baby Animals and Savage Garden, and I didn't grow up around hip hop, you know, but when I hit like 15 and I was in high school, and I'd met a bunch of friends that I'd ended up, you know, becoming acquainted with in year 8. Yeah, my mate David had given me an iPod just like full of hip hop, and
wow,
yeah, that was just the beginning of it for me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but like before that, it had all really been like a lot of like classical like rock stuff or whatever was on the radio. Or my uncle Dean, he was probably the most musical one in our whole family, my mum's side, and he would always, you know, pull the guitar out, and we actually like started a duo at one point. We were practicing in my bedroom to be this. I think we only had like 2 practice sessions, and we did one song, and it was Malibu.
Oh yeah.
Hey, hey. By who is it by again?
I'm terrible at recalling.
I'll remember it later, but yeah, wild. So yeah, I always liked to sing and you know, like write raps or just write poetry and try to write lyrics. But yeah, they're like my earliest memories from it, really. Just having like CDs in the living room and, you know, SingStar, and my dad would wake me up at like 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning to watch Rage.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was like kind of my musical education.
Yeah, that's so eclectic.
Yeah, yeah, it is, hey.
Yeah, very. So when was it like interesting for you to be doing it like yourself rather than listening to other artists? Like you mentioned that you would write raps and you enjoyed singing and stuff. When was it for you most interesting to like go, oh no, actually I'm more interested in not just listening but also like doing some original creative stuff yourself?
I feel like it took me quite a long time, to be honest, like even probably up until the last few years, to really use like my knowledge or my experience with music to try to put that into something, you know. Like for years it was just, you know, being like, I want to make beats, but like never tried to make beats, you know. It's just like, yeah, I'm gonna make beats one day. And so for me now, it's just really incorporating, yeah, like all the sounds of everything I like and experimenting and, you know, like I guess using beat juggling as a way to, I guess when I found turntablism, right, for me that really expanded, you know, like how I can DJ and how I can use this and how I can use this skill. And that was 6 years in from like learning how to DJ and, you know, use CDJs and electronic equipment. So yeah, I guess once I'd found turntables and like seen DMC and battle DJing and scratching and beat juggling, I was just blown out, you know. And so I think I've spent the last 4 years kind of diving into that and all of that. And now I'm at a point where, yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with like how I DJ and how I showcase and perform, and I've started kind of like even recreating beats by, you know, like beat juggling them and flipping them around and just recording that in and then like chopping those up. And so yeah, for me it took me quite a while, man, you know, like I was writing lyrics but I wasn't really putting them to music and things like that. And yeah.
So what got you started DJing at the very start then?
Well, that was through, so my stepmom gave me a call one day when I was 17, and yeah, just been like, have you ever thought of DJing? And at the time I was in a pretty bad space and just knew I had to get out of, you know, what I was doing. And so I had never thought about DJing, but I knew that it could be a good entry point into performing, and I'd always wanted to do that. So yeah, and she'd introduced me to this guy called Matt that runs this company called Ultimate DJ Productions, and that's in Mandurah back home in WA. And yeah, so he'd been running that for years and had a crew of DJs that he worked with, and I'd kind of met with him, and he was looking for experienced DJs, but my stepmom had kind of been like, she doesn't know how to DJ, but she'll be able to learn, you know. And yeah, I'd met Maddie and just kind of, I guess, probably expressed my passion for music and like my excitability for it, and he'd just been like, yeah, cool, and just trained me up on how to use the equipment and how to like beat match and all of that, really. And then 6 years later, like developed, like I guess finding turntablism and being like, oh, okay, like this is what I want to do. But yeah, Maddie had really given me like the foundations to move forward, and even like taught me how to set up everything and pack down. Like there's a lot to it that I guess even now that I'm teaching DJing as well, like I forget all the minor things that are actually so important, you know, like knowing how to set up your equipment is like totally essential, and how to troubleshoot that, and like things.
Are you talking
go
about
wrong
like
with-
like practically plugging in the hardware, or
well, like setting up, turntables and a mixer, and like getting the signal flow right. And most of the time, like you'd think it should be pretty straightforward, but with just technology and equipment and how things are these days, and all the moving parts of a turntable, it can be pretty difficult. And I just remember over the years, like facing so many like battles with equipment, and it's like, why isn't this working? And
yeah,
I guess even that, trying to relay that information to, new DJs. I mean, like, if this doesn't work, this and that, but yeah.
I'm really intrigued by the turntablism because I think, like, personally, I like playing records because of the like tactile experience of it, and I find it much easier to like listen to full albums and have a bit more of an experience around it rather than just like streaming tunes.
Yeah.
So I have a bit of like hi-fi turntable nerd in me.
Yeah, I get that.
But I think it's really impressive what you do.
Thanks, man.
When you say like things, like you use a whole bunch of phrases that I had absolutely no idea what any of them meant, but and tell me if this feels like way too much like a lesson. But beat juggling, what's that?
So beat juggling, is really using the same record on both sides. So you have a copy of a record if you have a physical record. These days, like, a lot of the time you might use digital vinyl, but if we had two physical copies of the same record, and it's really using release and backspin to repeat like sections of the record,
Yes.
So you might play 4 beats on the left, and then you might switch over to the right and then play the same 4 beats on the right, and then switch up the pattern, by grabbing the snare or by grabbing a kick and physically manipulating the records to recreate the beat. Yeah. I feel like I said that in a roundabout way, but I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, it's interesting because you
Yeah.
play it and then you play the exact same thing on the second record.
Yeah, or you could play
and then
the
you
next
can juggle
part,
with it.
you know what I mean? Yeah. So you could play the first 4 beats on the left side, and then you could play like the next 4 on the next side, and then like there's just so many possibilities of how to do it, really. Do you know what I mean? But it's just a way of repeating sections of a record and isolating sections to create a new beat, basically. Yeah.
So when you mentioned like digital records, do you do like analog and digital turntablism?
Yeah, 100%. I don't do as many vinyl only sets, especially in, I don't know, like busier places, just because I find that I haven't done as much vinyl mixing, and I'm still pretty, I don't know, I like to take my time with it and not feel so pressured. Whereas I guess when it's like a busier environment or there's heaps of people around, I just want to like have the Serato system set up and know that I can be like, all right, quick with this and quick with that. And as well, I'm still growing my vinyl collection, so a majority of it is pretty like gangster rap or like boom bap or like my own personal collection.
Sure.
So going and playing that out, is like I have to be at a real hip hop spot to be able to just play vinyl only at this point. I've got a lot of like funk records and soul records as well, so like I guess that as well. But I don't know. I guess there's just a lot more these days you can do with digital vinyl. Do you know what I mean? Like you can do so much with records themselves just by isolating parts on the record and using, basic foundations of a mixer. And that's what's so great about playing a vinyl set. Like I feel like when I go play vinyl sets, it's really stripped back, and because you don't have all this extra stuff to, like bedazzle you or whatever, or, you really hone in on the basic elements and really, I don't know, polish that. As opposed to adding like extra spice, whereas as opposed to doing digital vinyl sets with Serato or all of that, there's so much you can do, with stems these days. Like I don't know if you've heard much about this, but with Serato, so the software we use, or most of us use, they've incorporated stem system now, so you can also just like stem out like the acapella, the bass line, the drums. Yeah, so you can make all your own edits on the go.
Like
which
the software automatically...
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So there's just like a different pad option you can go into within the interface now, and you can just like remove the acapella or remove the drums and then overlay that over another track. It's just really...
That's crazy.
Yeah, so there's just... so much creatively that you can do, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like records, it's a different sound and a different vibe. Like, I'm not sure what I prefer. I guess it's just for different settings. And, yeah.
I guess it's nice to be able to do a bit of both.
Yeah, man, 100%.
So like, excuse my ignorance.
No.
But like when you're saying it's like digital and you see, like if I imagine like a classic DJ deck, there's like 2 spinning discs.
Yeah.
Is that still turntablism, or only if the person's doing actual like record manipulation to do like the beat juggling and scratches and stuff like that?
Yeah, turntablism definitely. I mean, if you're going to have turntables and have a digital vinyl setup and all of that, yeah, to be calling yourself, I guess, a turntablist, you would need to be incorporating some kind of trick mixing, which is like grabbing the snare or the kick, some kind of like simple scratches or advanced scratches, beat juggling, yeah, as opposed to just using it as just a DJ setup. Because, yeah, when I first got my turntables and my battle mixer after I'd seen turntablism, I didn't use it properly like a turntablist, you know what I mean? Like, I was still just, like, pressing hot cues and like I would on a digital setup of, CDJs or a club mixer. Whereas, yeah, when I'd gone to my mate Buddha's house and Buddha had just really, like, opened up the gate for me. He's basically, like, my Yoda, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's been, like, this is how you use your turntables properly. And this is what, like, the label, and this is how you use it. And the information was already there for me to access on the internet. I just, I feel like I needed someone to be like, hey man, do this. And for me, that was just like, okay. But now just anyone that I see not using the sticker marker or like following the record or, because that just completely changes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess it's like, it's really good that there's like YouTube and there's information available everywhere, 100%. But sometimes it just takes someone to say to you, like face to face, hey, just do it like this, or this is how it goes, and it just opens up your world. Dude,
absolutely. And I'm pretty, I just hate watching tutorials, you know what I mean? Like I'm someone that has to learn for myself, so, like very stubborn. So I think when Buddha showed me, it was just like, yeah, this is how it's done. It's just mind blown. So yeah, I think that like when I first had turntables and a mixer, I wasn't a turntablist, It took me like entering DMC and figuring out how to compose a beat routine or like a battle routine and like learn different juggles and learn different cuts and actually learn how to compose a scratch sequence, which is basically instead of just scratching and this and that, it's creating the right phrasing so that it's really actually saying something. Or using I guess something that's musical in its own sense.
I was thinking like in preparation to having a chat with you about like all the different bands that I've liked that have had a turntablist in it. And like the biggest one for me would be Jamiroquai.
True.
I don't know if you're like much of a fan of theirs, but
I feel like I like Jamiroquai, but for me, I guess I don't know, they're a bit more.
Yeah, it's very genre adjacent to the music that
100%
you like. But I grew up with that being like a really cool band.
Yeah, they're beautiful, man.
And then that got me sort of thinking like, oh yeah, like that artist is not just like, triggering some samples. They're just another member of the band. They're actually playing rhythms that are engaging. They're actually like live looping back some of the stuff that like Jay was singing. And I think that like helped me expand it out just that little bit more to like practically be like, oh yeah, actually that is something that I've appreciated in like different contexts.
Yeah, 100%.
But I'd never thought about it any more than like, I guess I didn't give it the credit of like, oh, it's just like having another percussionist in the band or something. I was like, oh, they're just like sort of triggering stuff up the back. But it was like, oh no, actually the more I think about it, they're adding all of these like really musical and interesting layers that it's just another band member. I don't know why I was so like closed off to it as like it's not a real instrument, purist that went to music school and all that sort of nonsense.
I think that's nice to hear, because I feel like a lot of, I mean, maybe this is generalized speaking, but for me, having met a lot of musicians in the past and being a DJ, or them being like, oh, you're a DJ, and I'm like, you just kind of want to be like, yeah, but I'm a DJ, do you know what I mean? But you just, you kind of just, all right,
yeah. We've had a couple of like DJs on the podcast, and it's always like that thing of like, some people are just like, oh, like what's the point of the DJ? Like I've got Spotify and I can press shuffle. Like, what are they doing?
Yeah, I get
But
that.
like, okay, that's like one thing, but that's actually like completely different to really like what a DJ is.
Yeah, I feel like it's a whole different thing, you know. Like, yeah, if you look at turntablism from the 90s, or you look at DMC videos, or like an iPod can't do that, do you know what I mean? And most people, some people aren't looking for that, but like that's kind of, yeah, that's really where I'm like, this is what I want to do, you know.
What was it like getting all the rhythms and stuff like under your fingers? Did you pick that up quite quickly? Like, you know, being able to scratch and line all the beats up?
Oh, no. I mean, for me, I feel like beat juggling I picked up quicker than scratching.
Okay.
And maybe it's just because I enjoyed it more. Like beat juggling, I was just like, whoa, this is sick. I just never seen it before.
Yeah.
It's almost like an exercise, and, you know, you get your heart pumping. And I don't know. And then once Buddha showed me like body tricks as well, I was just like, this is nuts.
What's body tricks?
Body tricks is incorporating like parts of your body into the beat juggle. So, for example, like the first one Buddha showed me, I think, was behind the back. So, like, you know, you do juggle, and then when you do the crossfader again, you go behind your back and you flick the crossfader.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like they did the craziest body tricks in like the early DMCs. You know, I was trying to learn some new ones last night. Like there's a K Swizz, he's a New Zealand like turntablist and DJ, and he's crazy. I think he's like 18 or 19.
Okay.
And he was battling from like 12 with DJ Renner. He's a turntablist from Japan. And yeah, they bonded together and became this DJ duo, but also were battling solo. And K Swizz came out in I think like 2020, or I can't remember now, maybe 21, and yeah, put his hoodie on back to front and pulled the hoodie up and juggled blindfolded, and I was like, you know, I was trying to learn how to do that last night.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you got to be really zen, just like, but it's all about like muscle memory and stuff, you know. Like once you, I don't know, man, I just really nerd out with it. Like I just really dive into it, and I see all these DMC videos. Like there's one of like DJ David, 1990, I think it was 1989. Someone's gonna correct me because I'm wrong, probably, but yeah, just he's a b-boy as well. Like puts I don't know what he put on the spindle. I feel like it was just a cap, but it looked kind of special, you know, like a weight, but it was like kind of looked like it had some rubber in it or something. And he just like turned the turntable sideways and just like gets on it and starts spinning on top of it. Like, whoa. Just they do the craziest shit, you know. And I guess it's not, like there's no difference in the sound with me juggling under my leg than there is me doing it not under my leg. It's just impressive, and it's cool. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a little stunt or
it's
a trick.
It's the performance aspect.
It's
of
the
it,
performance.
Right?
You know, it's like skaters doing flips or like crazy. Like I just find that, for me, I find that so entertaining and cool. And I just watch like those old battle videos, and so I enjoy it. And if other people are like, oh, I don't see the point in that, then that's fine. But
do you do much of it, like when you're gigging? Yeah,
absolutely. Like I don't do it all the time, but I'll probably do like some of Section 8 tonight, and you know, I do them at like hip-hop shows and the live shows, and yeah, I definitely like to do some like live juggles and stuff, but it took me quite a while to develop being able to do them, I guess, what's smoothly live, do you know what I mean? Sometimes like you get into a juggle and you don't know how to like, you don't find a way to get out of it quickly, or do you know, there's just ways to make it a bit smoother. And I think for a while it was just a bit more jolty, and I'm still definitely like learning so much, man. You know, there's so many scratches I don't know how to do, like body tricks I don't know how to do, beat juggles. So for me, I'm just like enjoying just continuing on with that. Yeah.
So when you say like a scratch that you don't know how to do, is it because like, I don't know, there's like if I was to imagine, if I put my hands on two wheels, I could probably like scratch some kind of rhythms because I play drums, and you know, there's like rhythms. But when you describe a scratch, is it like the technique of, if you twist it this way, it sounds like this, and if you move it like that, it gets this sound? So the combination of these two moves together create like, you know, option C. Yeah. Is that what you mean when you say like, haven't learnt the scratch?
Pretty much, yeah. Like different combinations or different styles. Like there's a crab scratch is when you use like your four fingers here, and your thumb is your stopper on your crossfader. So you always hold it as like a stopper here, and most of the time like these two fingers will be your main crossfader fingers, right? But then with a crab scratch, you'd want to be So a click is when you open and close the crossfader to create, sound and then no sound, no sound. So you'd have 4 clicks in a crab scratch. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh.
Yeah, and then you'd want to do that forward and back. And about like a year or two ago, I developed like golfer's arm and tennis elbow from turntablism.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I think from stress as well and a whole bunch of other shit, but just like constantly DJing and not like strengthening my muscles. And so the tendons like are real tight in my arms. So I feel like the scratches that like need a lot more clicks or like faster movement, I really struggle with. And I go to these, we have these scratch ciphers hosted by Turntablist Scratch Cipher, like once a month in winter, but they were like every fortnight before. And it's just awesome, man. Like just community of, turntablists and scratch nerds, and we all just get together and everyone's like
nice.
And man, I feel like I go to those and every time I'm like just so humbled, because there's so much I don't know, and some of those guys are just so like water smooth. I feel like I'm very heavy-handed and like, everything I do is like almost jaggedy, like and stabby, in a way. Whereas when I watch these guys, they're just like flowing through it, and that's kind of like, just watch that. Go, okay, like need to lighten up, and a lot of it is like being lighter on the record and lighter on the, So I feel, it's just so expansive, man. Like if you watch all the OG turntablists and DJs and like what they were doing in the 90s, like that's kind of why I say there's so much I still don't know. I was watching like the top 10, craziest body trick videos last night. Yeah. And I was like, wow, there's so much I don't know. And there were so many tricks I was trying to figure out how to do that I thought were new that aren't new at all. They're like 35 years old.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
What do you think it is that like has kept you interested in developing it? Like, because you've been DJing for 10 years. And, once you start like working and earning money from it, a lot of people will just, I guess, like stay in what they're doing. They go like, oh, this is successful. It's like paying my bills and, like for better or worse, like stagnate in the like, this is just what I do. But like you're describing like, oh, well, I've gone through these different journeys and I've met different people and I've done new things and I've learnt turntablism, and you've been doing that for like 4 or 5 years and you're still like, oh, well, there's like so much to learn, and you're still diving into it even though you are working as well. What is it that's like, keeping that interest? Is it just within you? You're like, you get excited by old videos, so you're just like constantly wanting to learn?
I think that's definitely a part of it, man. And like, to be honest, I think there's a few different aspects to it. Like, before I left home, I was in a pretty, stagnated place. Just like paying my bills, and I'd had the same residencies for like 4 or 5 years. I was playing the same spots every weekend, and that was good. 5 years at the same place, and they still want me there. That's great. But
yeah, that's awesome.
You're not doing anything new. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're playing that same place. You see like the cycles of people change and the crowds change, and then you're like standing there 5 years later after so many different, staff members have come through and gone, and it's gone through so many different changes, and you're like, man, I'm the last one standing, like, and why am I still here? And, you kind of question that I like being here, but I could probably be somewhere else that's probably better for me. And I think, whenever I'm getting bored with like work, or say for example with DJing, I've been DJing full time for 5-6 years now, and like part time before that. And I think whenever I get bored or feel unmotivated to go to work, it's because I haven't like listened to enough or educated myself on enough different music, or like new music, or I've just been playing the same, music in different sets for too long. Like, I get really excited when I find music, like, and I haven't got it, and I'm just like, this is sick, and I can't wait to play this, and different DJs or different producers that make just awesome edits or, originals, and I just kind of like, that really motivates me to like go out and then play it. So I think, sometimes when I get stale with work, it's because I've either run myself down like an hour with energy, I'm not creating myself. Like, for me, if I'm not, I've found there's a massive difference with my motivation and my desire to entertain all weekend, and sometimes, play music that I don't necessarily want to play or whatever, when I'm creating and when I'm not creating, like at the moment I'm just, I'm putting cuts on tracks and I'm making my own beats and I'm recording verses, I'm recording vocals, and I'm just having so much fun creating that DJing isn't the only thing I do creatively, so it really just like all of those things really amplify like my DJing, and then also entice me to just want to go out and DJ more.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers the question. I just feel like, when I'm not creating and like not putting the input in that I want to, like expressively, I'm really not looking forward to going to work on the weekend, because I just feel like, this is all I do. I just DJ and, some places you go, like, people are awesome and they're lovely, and other places you go, like, they're maybe not as much, or people are just, like, if you live to entertain, you really got to entertain yourself as well. So, I find that if I'm creating, that's just really what juices me up. And just watching, like, those battle videos and going to this scratch cypher, and, like, right now I feel like I have so many musical people around me just constantly talking about music and living music and, like, living and breathing hip-hop, that it just really amps me up, you know? So I think that's it, man, I think that's it.
Yeah, well, that like community, being in the community, really, like, that's what it's about, right? Like, because it inspires you to do more, and you doing things will inspire them to do things. And
I think so. And the journey's so quiet, like, or I guess, man, it's just lonely on your own. Like, I had a good bunch of turntablist mates back home, but I feel like it took me years to find them. And even then, we weren't as, like, regularly hanging out or, like, whatever as I am now with my family here, It's very strange because I spent most of my life in Perth, but I think I just got out of that comfort zone and just, that definitely, I
Do you think you needed, like, that push?
Thing. Yeah, and I think that's still a big thing. Like, if I'm ever feeling comfortable or, not looking forward to it, like, stepping out of the comfort zone is just something I just need to keep doing.
Yeah. All right, well, we've been playing this little game on the podcast.
Okay.
Where I get each guest to ask a question of the next guest.
Okay.
So I've got a question for you from my previous guest, Holly Joyce.
Okay.
What do you think your younger self would think of the musician you are today? If you could have a conversation with your younger self, would your younger self think you're pretty cool? What would your younger self think of you today?
I like that. That's a good question. My younger self. Man, I feel like she'd be pretty stoked, I feel like, especially with where I'm at now, I've really released my attachment to fear or what other people are going to think or what anyone's going to think, and I'm just doing what I want to do and really expressing myself. And I think I would probably see that as a younger me and just be like, fuck, she's got some balls, and that's it. Yeah, I think that's how I'd probably feel.
Did you have plans, like, when you were younger, about what you thought? Like, as you said that, you hadn't really thought about DJing until you were 17. Had, like, music as a career ever been something,
Always, man. That was like I didn't know what I was going to do. I knew I just wanted to be a singer. Honestly, ultimately, I just want to sing and rap.
Yeah, right.
And I wanted to basically be a rock star. Like, because I'd grown up around a lot of, like, rock music and all of that, like, softer, ballad stuff. And then when I was, like, super young, I had an obsession with Pink and Paramore and all of that.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, man. So I just wanted to rock the house. Like, I really just saw that and was like, that looks so just crazy and wild and, like, really empowering. So yeah, I always wanted to do music. Yeah.
Well, it's so cool that you've taken like the big leap to come to Melbourne and really like pushed yourself, because it sounds like, you know, in the 8 months that you've been in Melbourne, you've already like built so many great connections and pushed yourself so more. So that's so far already. Like, it's kind of exciting to be like, oh, well, you know, you've been doing that thing in Perth for like 4 years now. Like, where's it going to go?
Yeah, pretty much, man. Yeah, decade in Perth, and now I'm just like, yeah, wondering, not even wondering, just, yeah, going forward with the rest of it. Yeah, I'm excited.
That's cool.
Thank you, man.
Well, what would you like to ask our next guest?
Who is our next guest? Do I know?
No, that's the fun of the game.
Okay.
It keeps the listeners listening to each episode as they, you know, excitedly wait for a week to find out who gets the next question.
Okay. All right, I think I have one. It's a little bit unorthodox, but if you could create a whole new project out of your favorite 3 bands or musicians or artists or DJs, who would they be and what would you call it and why?
That's really interesting. Are you imagining this is like a collaboration project?
Yeah. It's like 3 bands in one, and they're all one band, and they all have a new name. And a whole new sound, obviously.
Are there some bands like that you like that made you think of this? The first one that came to mind for me was Boy Genius.
Yeah, Boy Genius is really cool.
Is that like what you're talking about? You're like 3 different acts?
I love Portishead.
I don't know Portishead. Tell me about them.
You don't know Portishead?
You'll find out from listening to this that I don't know a lot.
Oh, I don't either. You know, we all know just what we know, right?
Exactly. So what Porterhouse?
I say that all the time. Portishead. Portishead. They have a turntablist as well.
Cool.
He's crazy. It's awesome. And they do, you would have heard it. One of their most famous songs is Only You.
Okay.
Yeah, by Portishead. But there's also, like, for example, my friends back home, Super Ego. I don't know if you've heard of those guys.
No.
They used to go by Power Negro, and now they've renamed Super Ego. But oh man, it's crazy. It's like jazzy, it's hip hop, it's rock, it's punk, like it's experimental bass. It's just awesome,
wow.
You know? Yeah. And so I think sometimes, yeah, if you could take your favorite 3 artists or, you know, projects and put those together and name them.
Yeah.
Like, what would the name be and what would they sound like?
Yeah. Well, can I put the question back on you then?
Yeah.
Because I'm so intrigued by this.
Oh, gosh. Now I got to think. I feel like... Okay. I'll do like... There'd be 3 different sounds, right? So maybe I'd go Erykah Badu, JID. JID is like new school rap and like... But he's also like super old school rap. Just a dope lyricist. You know Erykah Badu.
Yeah.
And then Erykah Badu, JID. Maybe I had someone funky in there. Like Curtis Mayfield.
Oh.
R.I.P. But I reckon that's what I'd do. And
wow.
they'd be called...
What a super group.
Fuck, what would they be called? That's a hard one. That is actually a hard question.
Yeah.
It's a lot put together in one.
It is. But it's pretty interesting.
They would be called... Oh, God. I actually don't know. I'm so stuck. I'm really bad with names. Like, it took me so long to think of any name for anything. They would be called Erica. Yeah. And they would be, they would be rap and soul and funk. But it's like boom bap and old neo soul and funk. That would be wild.
Yeah. That'd be really cool.
That'd be really cool.
Well, I wanted to ask about your name. Where did that come from?
Mizhap. My sister actually came up with that.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I first started DJing, I used to run under a different name, which was J Blitz. And it was pretty bad. It was like, you know, I was just like trying to find a name that was like, I guess, like glitzy and R&B, and I don't know, I'd just seen other DJ names and gone with J Blitz. And then, yeah, years later was at a family gathering and my auntie was like, oh, J Blitz. Like, did you say J Clitz? And I was like, I got to change my name. Yeah. So then I was like, I got to rebrand, which I was going to do it anyway. And then my sister, yeah, she's super indie, like hippie, loves just, I don't know, completely different music and sound to what I do. But, yeah, I was just trying to think of like a hip-hoppy name and was going, oh, your middle name's Marie. Like, and trying to think of names, and then just eventually ended up coming up with Mizhap, and
Cool.
did a little like graph sketch of my name and was like, Mizhap. So that was cool. So yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I always find it interesting, the name thing, because like names are so hard, right?
Yeah,
like
it's wild.
everyone's like just like, oh, just like, you know, a band name's so easy, and then like when you've actually got to do it for like your project or your identity or whatever, like
It's hard. Man.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it is hard, and especially because that is something that's going to represent you for life, right? So I feel, I don't know. Now for me, I feel after Megs had given me that name, I was like Mizhap, and I had to kind of take a while for it to soak in and sit with me, and now, I feel like after a few years, and people go, what does Mizhap mean? I'm like, well, it didn't really mean anything, but after a few years, I was like, man, I make a lot of mistakes. Like I make a lot of mistakes, but you know what? That's because I try new things, and I make a lot more, I don't know, just efforts to just do more things that I haven't done before and challenge myself, and it leads to more mistakes. But I feel like that also led to me finding a way to fix mistakes and find a new way to DJ and create like mix styles and stuff.
because you learn from it, right?
Yeah,
like,
100%, 100%. And because you need to fix something on the spot, and you're like, oh, I fucked that up, and now I got to fix it. Like, it just really developed a new style of, transitions and mixing for me. So, I don't know. Now I'm just, there's a whole different take to the meaning for me.
It's cool.
Yeah.
How much does like the graphic side of things with like your name come into play for you as something of meaning?
Graphic?
Yeah, like, you know how you've got like a logo, and like, you know, the clothes that you choose to wear often have like, you know, a style and stuff from like your promo.
I feel like, oh man, I don't even know. I feel like the majority of the time I'm really just like pretty comfy and looking pretty street, you know, like this is like how I prefer to dress, and I feel kind of like uncomfortable when I try to dress like fancy or, you know, a bit more feminine, like outside of DJing. Like I'm cool, you know, comfortable doing that. But I just, I like to be comfy and, you know, like loose clothing as well, because that for me is like I'm able to move and breathe and, you know, just be a bit more loose. Like, so I feel like for me it's just more about like comfort and, I'm pretty street with my look, I feel,
And do you do like the design stuff yourself?
No, like I got one of my mates back home to do my logo, Philly Blunt, I'm pretty sure. And then my brother's mate like had redone it. And then in terms of like merch, and all of that, like I'm getting this guy called Vincent Sharkley to help me like come up with something special at the moment.
Cool.
To take on tour towards the end of the year. And that should be really cool. He's a great artist. He goes by One Sun One.
Sick.
One Sun One. Yeah. And just like the attention to detail and just the way that he positions his characters and his style is just really dope. So I don't know, man. I just really like to collaborate with people that are like insanely like talented and individual in their own right, and just passionate about what they do. Like I feel like most of the people that I work with or have worked with are just like really good people and really love what they do. So visuals, I can't do graphics like visuals myself, do you know? I like to draw, but in terms of like actually putting it on electric like I don't know, into an iPad or into software, like I don't know, man. So many people know how to do that well, like
no, it's nice that you like pick people that have a style that is like unique to them and what they're creating to be like, actually, I'd like that, and can we collaborate on that? Like, I like it.
And I think you can, definitely work with different artists on different projects and like for different cover art and, different merch and things like that. So it's just really cool. Yeah.
The reason I was asking is I was thinking about what you said with I can't remember what you call it, but like the trick shots when you're turntabling, like behind the back.
Body tricks.
Body tricks. And how there's like that performance aspect to the DJing, which I hadn't really thought about as much, because often I think of like, when people are going to like a club or something.
Yeah.
It's not so much to like look at the DJ as it is like when there's a band playing.
100%.
And like the light shows are never really about the DJ, unless it's like, like a festival set with someone who's like a pop star DJ. But it was interesting hearing you be like, I care about the body tricks.
I can't do them everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't do them everywhere.
Yeah, but it's interesting that like there's still the performance aspect of it for you. Which it's really interesting.
I mean, there is for me, and I feel like there's people out there that enjoy it. Otherwise, I would feel pretty stupid for doing it all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, of course, like time and place. If you're doing like someone's like corporate event or something.
I've definitely been told off like the last few months, like a good share, being in Melbourne and being in a new city and like. Not realizing or not knowing just how they, I guess, operate, or I don't know, man. I was trying really hard at this one weekly night we were doing. I just felt like every week, had new hoops to jump through, and I was like, okay. At first, I was like, oh man, this is micromanaging like at its finest, and like you might as well be the DJ. I mean, that's how I felt about this promoter. But then I was like, you know what? All right, enough of that attitude. I'm going to go in and I'm like, okay, yes. And I challenge myself to do exactly that. And every week I'll go in and he would have a new problem about, what I did last week and new advice on how I should do it. So I would do it that way and blah, 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 blah. And man, one week he just pulled me aside into the other room and was like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what your problem is, man. Like, why do you always feel the need to perform? And I was like, fuck, man, I thought that's, like, why do you always, why is this like a show to you, And for me, that really clicked for me, because I was like, well, I thought that, isn't that what you want? Like an engaging DJ, someone that's fun to look at, like someone that's fun to watch. But yeah, for me as well, I was definitely learning throughout that stage, and this promoter had a lot of experience in LA and America, and with DJs in big clubs just going all night long, and big R&B super clubs. And one thing he said to me like very regularly was, the record. I just want the record to almost never stop spinning. Like it should never stop. It should just be one big record all night long.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. I know, like I get what he's saying. And yeah, that to me, I was like having a hard time and like, damn, like that means my timing's like not always on point, but it's not. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, for me, that was just a realization of, okay, like, yeah, I got to follow this and do what this promoter wants, and he don't want me to do any of this, stuff, so I won't do it. And just really pull back, and it made me feel really uncomfortable, like not myself when I pulled back, but like when I did, he was like, that was the best set you've ever done. And I was like, you know what I mean? So there's like, but yeah, 100%. Like when he pulled me aside that night and was like, I don't know why it always has to be a showcase. And I was just kind of sitting there thinking like, for me, I was very crossroads at the time, feeling really stubborn about it and feeling like, yeah, well, it is a showcase. And, I should do that because I'm Mizhap and that's how I want to be. And the other part of me is like, I'm a full-time working DJ. Like, I kind of have to listen to promoters, and I don't want to be hard to work with either. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you go and be like, all right, this is what we want in our club, what's the point in, like, headbutting and, like, fighting? You know what I mean? So, I'll do that.
Yeah, it's like the interesting tension of artistry and, like the worker.
Yeah. Because he was completely honest. He was like, I'm not trying to put on anything special here or put on, like, I'm trying to make money here and put on a night. And, like, that's all there is to it. And so for me, I was very, like, stuck in a headspace of, But I don't have to worry about that now because it's not running anymore.
It sounds like a good learning experience both ways, though.
100%. And that's, for me, like, I definitely broke down that wall of going, I'm really resisting against this and I'm really mad about this and I don't want to listen to you and you don't know anything, and then turning around and going, all right, I'm going to listen because this guy probably does know something and he has a different experience to me. His experience from the other side of the world. And, like, yeah, I feel like, yeah, I definitely went through a big process of trying to, like, remove my ego a lot more once I moved here and going, yeah, this isn't about me at all. Like, my artistry is, but, like, when I go out there and perform at commercial clubs or at commercial club nights or this or that, it's not about me, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is about the dance floor. And, yeah, sometimes I don't understand when the beat stops or there's a double beat, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, wow. Well, I think it shows, like, the wisdom that you have of, like, all right, well, I'm feeling annoyed because, like, I'm me. Why'd you book me if you didn't want this? But then at the same time, you've got the perspective to go, well, actually, I'm going to learn something from this because, you know, maybe they add something. And then all of a sudden he's like, yeah, that was the best set ever. So you're like, oh, all right, well, I know if I'm going to work for this person, I just do that.
Yeah.
And now you've got a new skill and also, like, some confidence to be at some other time when it's like the gig is for you rather than for, you know, the nightclub. You can go, actually, this is me. I'm wearing an artistry hat now.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, man, it's just way less. I'm such a stubborn person, you know. I've been stubborn my whole life. Like, my parents would just tell anyone that, like, she is stubborn. And I got the stubbornness from both sides, apparently. Do you know what I mean? But that's what they both say, you know. Well, you can both say that. But removing that, or, like, trying to really lower that and really just go, I don't know, just kind of swallow the bullet. But even remove the bullet entirely. Like, why does it even have to be a bullet? Do you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't taking shots at me, and he wasn't taking, like, he didn't hate me, and he loved good DJing. And he was like, yeah, it's dope, but the people don't get it. And, like, and he was trying to tell me that, and I was trying to go, but they do get it. And he was like, no, they don't. And just removing that bullet, or, like, trying to swallow it, or even pretending that was a bullet and just going, okay, yeah, maybe I can learn something here. Just completely changed my perspective on it. And also removed all of the, like, frustration I was feeling and, you know, anger I was feeling, and just, like, yeah, because it was a pretty, like, you know, 2 weeks of, like, going in, or 2 or 3 weeks of going in and being like, fuck, every week of going in, man. And I've got to change this, and you want this to change, and, like, nothing's good enough. But, like, it, yeah, really changed my perspective on it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's awesome that you persisted with it like that. Like, so many people would just say, like, no, I'm out of here.
Oh, yeah, definitely felt like doing that, but...
I bet.
Yeah, you know.
I think it shows your character, though, that it's like, all right, well, you know, I'm here and I'm pushing myself, and, you know, you know that you're stubborn, but you're like...
Yeah, man.
You still also got the, like, well, I'm open and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to do better, and I'll, you know, take from it. Like, I think it shows why you've, like, quickly had success moving to Melbourne, and then, you know, just quickly establishing yourself in the scene, and, you know, promising as to what's going to come next.
Thanks, man.
Well, I should finish because we've been chatting for an hour already.
No problem.
But I'll ask you the same 5 quick answer questions that I ask everybody.
Yes.
What is your favourite venue to play in Melbourne?
Oh, shit. Trying to think of the places I played at. Vic Bar. I like my local Vic Bar because I can just take a bunch of records, hip hop records, and just play those for 3 hours. You know.
Nice. Where's Vic Bar?
It's in Abbotsford. It's
cool.
on Victoria Street. Like occasionally on Thursdays. I do love playing at Section 8, of course. And Leadbeater has definitely been, like, I don't know. Leadbeater just feels really significant to me because that was the first Breaking Bread, like, show we had, and for me that just, like, was pretty monumental in, like, the family that I have now, and
cool.
like creating that. And we do, like, we return to Leadbeater and do shows, and yeah, there's just something about it. And it's also in Abbotsford on Victoria Street, and yeah, I just love it. So yeah, definitely those 3.
What would be your dream venue to play at?
Oh shit. I really, really, really want to play at It's not even a venue. It's just Scratch Bastard. He's a turntablist from Toronto.
Okay.
And he hosts this thing called Bastard's Barbecue with like the craziest turntablists, and he cooks up a barbecue, and they all like play vinyl sets. Or,
Wow.
Or turntable sets
To an audience? Or
to a big party audience. It's crazy. That's definitely like I would love to do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
What is your coffee order?
Soy cappuccino.
What's your favourite place to get food after a gig in Melbourne?
Oh, shit. This sounds really basic, but like China Bar's always open. I love going to China Bar.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not my favourite place. There was this Mexican place my mate took me to for my birthday, and I loved that. Bodega Underground.
Cool.
But I've never been there after a gig.
Well, it's hard because you're a DJ,
Yeah, I
so
finish at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Normally you're ordering like Macca's, or I'm making myself a bacon and egg sandwich. You know?
Yeah, there's nothing open in Melbourne very late, like
Nah.
a couple spots.
No.
Yeah. I couldn't remember what the last question is. Oh, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Stop overthinking shit, man.
Do you think you would have listened to yourself if you gave yourself that advice when you were younger?
No.
Yeah.
Everything was just too much, you know?
It's probably
Everything mattered.
And that's probably what's like helped you get to where you are too, right? Like we were chatting about this with a couple podcast guests ago. We had Gormy was on the podcast, and we were chatting about that, like the overthinking or the like extreme perfectionist or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like it's also the stuff that got you where you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because if you don't give a shit, then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'll probably be doing like the most basic of like your musical level and just be like, this is great. Yeah. But just, I would say that to anyone, man. Stop overthinking shit. Just like go do it. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for sharing.
Thank you, man.
Like I appreciate your generosity in my turntablism naivety. You're very generous in explaining lots about it, but also it's really cool to hear about like your move to Melbourne and like how you've gone about like, you know, your journey with music and the different DJing and turntable aspects, and also like establishing yourself in the scene here. You're doing really cool stuff, and I really appreciated you coming along to share it with me and, you know, the like couple of listeners that we have on the pod.
Thank you, Luke. No, I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Our Drummers Musicians. I hope you enjoyed diving into the world of another musician as much as I did. Help us grow by leaving a review and sharing the podcast with your friends, family, favourite artist, or anyone else who might enjoy it. For more info and updates, visit ourdrummersmusicians.com. See you next time.